So good day everyone, especially to you ma'am, our very own Professor Jasperlin Pacana. And by the way, my name is Florentino C. Paran Jr., the first reporter, and our report is all about primer. So what is primer? When we say primer, it is a small self-contained metallic ignition cap at the center or at the cavity of a cartridge case that when struck by the firing pin combusts and sends sparks through the flash hole of the cases and ignites the powder charge. So when we say primer, it is a small explosive charge that is used to ignite the propellant in a cartridge or round. It is located at the base of the cartridge, and when the cartridge is fired, the primer is struck by the firing pin, causing an explosion that ignites the propellant and propels out of the barrel. It ensures reliable ignition and consistent performance of the ammunition. Without the primer, the cartridge would not be able to fire. So next, the origin of primer. Alexander John Forsyth, 1847, a Scottish Church of Scotland minister who is credited with being the first to conceive the idea by using detonating compounds for igniting powder charged in small arms by percussion. He invented the percussion ignition. So when we say percussion ignition, it is a method of igniting gunpowder in firearms by using a small detonating charge called a percussion cap. The cap is attached to the nipple, which is a small protrusion on the breech end of the barrel. When the gun is fired, the hammer strikes the cap and ignites the powder charge in the barrel. Percussion ignition was more reliable and consistent as it did not depend on external factors such as weather conditions. It is also allowed for faster and more accurate firing as the gun could be loaded and fired more quickly than with a flintlock mechanism. So next, parts of primer. First is primer cap, the container of priming mixture. So the primer cap is a small circular cap located at the base of the cartridge case. It contains a percussion cap which is struck by the firing pin when the gun is fired. The impact of the firing pin on the percussion cap causes it to explode, igniting the powder charge in the cartridge case and propelling the bullet down the barrel. The primer cap is an essential component of modern centerfire ammunition as it provides a reliable and consistent ignition source for each round. The next is the priming mixture, a highly sensitive chemical mixture contained in the primer cap. So when we say priming mixture, it is also known as the priming compound, which a combination of chemicals that is used to ignite the gunpowder charge in a cartridge. When the primer cap is struck by the firing pin, the primer mixture explodes, creating a spark that ignites the powder. However, it is an essential component of modern firearms technology as it allows for faster and more reliable firing than traditional flintlock mechanism. So the third one is anvil, a portion of the primer against which the priming mixture is crushed by blow of firing pin. It can be part of the cartridge burden or part of the primer boxer. The anvil is the portion of the primer which provides solid support and absorbs the blow of the firing pin, causing friction that would initiate ignition. It is a small metal block inside the boxer primer, against which the blow of the firing pin causes the priming compound to be pinched sharply and thus detonated. In the burden system, the anvil is built into the cartridge case's primer packet. So the last one is the disc, a piece of small paper or disc of tin foil which is pressed to the priming mixture. So when you say this, it is a piece of small paper or disc of tin foil which is pressed over the priming mixture. Its purpose is first to hold priming mixture in place, and the second is to exclude moisture. Next is the classes of primers. Corrosive primers, potassium chlorate, draws moisture from the air when ignited, and this moisture speeds the rusting of the gun barrel. So when we say corrosive primers is one of the classes of primers where it used in ammunition that produces corrosive byproducts when fired, leading to rust and corrosion in firearms, especially in areas with moisture. Corrosive primers were commonly used in the past, but they have largely been replaced by non-corrosive primers, which produce less corrosive residue and are less likely to damage firearms. However, corrosive primers are still used in some applications, such as in military-grade ammunition where reliability and performance are prioritized over the potential for corrosion. Next is the non-corrosive primers. Potassium chlorate was replaced by barium nitrates. It was invented by Swiss Army and inventor Karl Ziegler. So, non-corrosive primers is the second classes of primers where it does not produce corrosive byproducts when fired. Corrosive primers, which were commonly used in the past, could cause rust and corrosion in firearms, particularly in areas where moisture was present. So this could lead to malfunctions and damage to the firearm. Non-corrosive primers, on the other hand, are less likely to cause these issues as they produce less corrosive residue. This makes them a preferred choice for modern ammunition as they are less likely to damage firearms and require less maintenance. So this is end of my report, and the next reporter will be Lowen D. Villamor. Thank you.
So, good day everyone. I am Lowen J. D. Villamor. So, my report is the continuation of report of Florentino Paran. So, my report is all about formula of different primers. So, first is the typical mercuric primers. So, the formula of typical mercuric primers is 45% of potassium chlorate, 23% of antimony sulfide, and 32% of fulminate of mercury in. So, when we say mercuric primers, so it is also known as HG primers, are obsolete types of priming compounds used in the manufacture of ammunition. Then they contain mercury as a component, which is highly toxic and poses significant environmental and health hazard. Due to this risk, the use of mercuric primers has been largely phased out in favor of safer alternatives, so such as lead antimony or lead-free primers. So, as a result, typical mercuric primers are no longer commonly found in modern ammunition. So the next is FH42, standard mixture used by Frankfurt Arsenal. So the formula of these primers is 29.1% sulfur, 47.20% potassium chlorate, and 30.83% antimony sulfide. So when we say FH42, it is a standard mixture used by Frankfurt Arsenal, which is a US government-owned and contractor-operated munitions manufacturing facility located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The FH42 mixture is primarily used in the production of small caliber ammunition, specifically for the M193 and M855 rounds used by the US military. It is a high-performance propellant that provides consistent and reliable ballistic for these rounds. The exact composition of the its 42 mixture is proprietary and closely guarded by Frankfurt Arsenal to maintain its competitive degree in the market. So the third is 35NF, Winchester Repeating Arms Company. The formula of these primers is the 52% potassium chlorate, 18% antimony sulfide, 25% lead sulfocyanide, and 5% trinitrotoluene or TNT. So 35NF is a specific caliber of ammunition which stands for .35 Winchester New Rifle Flat Nose. It was introduced by the Winchester Repeating Arms Company in the early 20th century as a military cartridge for use in the M1903 Springfield rifle. The NF in the designation refers to the flat-nosed bullet, which was designed to expand upon the impact for better wounding capabilities. So today, 35 NF ammunition is still produced for use in vintage firearms and historical reenactments. So the fourth is rimfire priming mixture in caliber .22 cartridge. The formula of these primers is 52% potassium chlorate, 9.54% antimony sulfide, 4.72% copper sulfocyanide, and 44.23% ground glass. So rimfire priming mixture is the chemical compound that is used to ignite the gunpowder in a .22 rimfire cartridge. Unlike centerfire cartridges, which have a separate primer located in the center of the cartridge case, rimfire cartridges have the primary compound coated around the inside of the rim of the cartridge case. When the firing pin strikes the rim, it compresses and ignites the priming mixture, which in turn ignites the gunpowder and propels the bullet down the barrel. So the fifth one is the German priming compound. So the formula of these primers is 31% fulminate of mercury, 41% barium nitrate, 9% antimony sulfide, 5% picric acid, and 6% ground glass. So German priming compound or GPC is a type of primer used in the production of armor-piercing ammunition. GPC is a mixture of lead stiffenate and other additives that is pressed into the base of an armor-piercing projectiles. So, when the projectile strikes a target, the GPC ignites, initiating the detonation of the main explosive charge that destroys the armor. So, GPC is prepared over traditional priming compounds because it can withstand the high temperatures and pressures generated during the penetration process, ensuring reliable ignition and detonation. So the last one is the Ziegler formula. It is a non-corrosive primer. So the formula of these primers is 40% fulminate of mercury, 25% barium nitrate, 25% antimony sulfide, 6% barium carbonate, and 4% ground glass. So the Ziegler formula is a chemical used to or chemical formula used to produce a type of primer that does not corrode the metal surface of the firearms. Traditional primers contain lead stiffenate, which can cause corrosion over time. The Ziegler formula replaces lead stiffenate with less corrosive alternatives such as barium nitrate and antimony sulfide. This results in a primer that is less likely to cause damage to the firearm's metal surfaces, making it a preferred choice for modern firearms. So, next is the two kinds of primers, the Verdun primers and the Boxer primers. So, Verdun primer. It was invented by Hiram and Boxer on March 20, 1866. The primer cap contains only in the priming mixture and the anvil is the part of the cartridge case. It contains more vents and requires special tools to remove them easily and not generally loaded. So Verdun and Boxer primer are both types of priming compounds used in manufacturing of ammunition. The main difference between them is the method of ignition. So this primer or the Verdun primer is a type of primer that uses a copper cap with a built-in anvil. When the firing pin strikes the primer, the anvil compresses the priming mixture, igniting the propellant charge. So Verdun primers are typically used in a military-grade ammunition due to their reliability and resistance to moisture and corrosion. So the last is the Boxer primer. Boxer primer. It was invented by American inventor Colonel Edward N. Boxer on June 29, 1869. The anvil is an integral part of the primer assembly and contains only one flash hole. This kind of primer is commonly used in the present time for center fire cartridges. So Boxer primer, on the other hand, it is a type of primer that uses a separate anvil inside the cartridge case. When the firing pin strikes the primer, it creates a small indentation in the primer cap, which then impacts the anvil inside the cartridge case, igniting the propellant charge. Boxer primers are commonly used in commercial ammunition because they can't be reloaded by simply removing the spent primer and replacing it with a new one. So, Verdun primers have an integrated anvil in the primer cap, while Boxer primers have a separate anvil inside the cartridge case. Verdun primers are typically used in a military-grade ammunition, while Boxer primers are commonly used in a commercial ammunition due to their reloadability. So that is the difference between the Verdun and the Boxer primer. So that's all. Thank you. So I hope you understand our report and thank you so much.